Just looking at, you guys have a really big following.
Oh no,
Worldwide,
it's crashed. Oh my god.
Uh-oh.
The game has actually crashed when they're trying to present it to everyone at E3. That is so embarrassing. Hey guys, and welcome back to another iContrast video, bringing you some E3 news and all the updates given to us by Codemasters, as Lee Mather presented it on a couple of live streams not so long ago. So I'm going to be talking about them and all the major points that he listed in these interviews. Just going to try and break it down as quick as possible, because there's a lot of stuff that I was just raving on about the same thing over and over again. So I'm just going to, get to the point here. The interviewers don't always ask really good questions, so maybe they should try and hire somebody that actually plays the game more often than these people from IGN and whatnot. But anyways, first features that we do find most apparent actually is the halo being half missing, and that's because there is now an option for the halo to be disabled somewhat for the support column of the halo, so it doesn't interrupt your visibility, as the depth perception of the halo in real life is somewhat different to a screen, as you can't look past the halo in a screen as it's pixelated, and that way you kind of get the same kind of visibility as a driver would have in real life, and that way nobody is disadvantaged in that aspect. But of course you can always keep the original Halo look if you want to keep it that way. In addition to this, they've also made a number of other various improvements to the graphics and details found throughout the track. As you can see, further away from you, there's some level of fogging that goes on. The lighting is somewhat better. There is better cloud systems, and the way the weather systems build up throughout a race and whatnot. And if you just look at minor details around the track, there is definitely a noticeable difference. So that's a definite improvement, and good to see Codemasters aren't getting too complacent with their graphics. Not only have they improved the visual aspects of the game, but they've also improved the audio. Unfortunately, I can't really showcase it in this video, as the interviewers always talk over the streams and they don't really allow us to hear the raw gameplay of the footage. So hopefully they'll showcase that in the future. Another thing that I'd also like to point out that isn't confirmed in the game yet, but it was in the footage that he showed within the stream, is that they had the official F1 trailer, or at least the start of it, just before he started the race at Spa. So that implies that they're probably going to have all the broadcast graphics as well, hopefully, like for the spectating view on the F1 game, such as in the esports. So that'd be also cool. It probably hints at the pre and post coverage of the races in the game as well, with the speeches and whatnot. But for now, it says it's only a placeholder, but we'll see what happens when the game is fully released. To make the game more realistic and to try and stop people from bashing the curbs too much, most likely, they've added more realism to the suspension and the way the suspension interacts with the curbing. They've added, I think it's 1000 hertz curbing suspension system, which is basically like the refresh rate of how your car interacts with the curbing. So it means that you'll feel more as you're going over the curbs. It doesn't really mean they've changed the curbs heaps, it just means the way the car interacts with those curbs is going to feel somewhat different. From my understanding of the game, is that's what they're trying to convey here, is the way that car runs over a curb and the vibrations picked up, and the way the car interacts with the curb once you run over it. So you might find that you might get thrown off the curb if you try to abuse the curbs that you tried to in F1 2017. Adding another element of realism to the game, they've also added the internal tire temperature, which may also involve more management throughout the race. This will probably impact the way you start an out lap to get your tires up to temperature for a hot lap as well. And different temperatures in different weather scenarios might also impact the way you drive and how hard you need to push to get those tires up to temperature. If the track is starting to get damp and you're on slick tires or something like that, you might also have to approach a race differently. You might be able to stay out longer on slick tires in F1 2017 compared to F1 2018, depending on how well you keep your tire temperatures up. And that also might separate different drivers with different styles of driving. They've added a whole lot of improvements to single player career mode. By the way, contracts are now managed. You have reputation, you got to negotiate contracts with teams. The way you interact with the press and your interviewer will impact the way other teams see you and give you a higher or lower chance depending on your actions with negotiating a certain price with a certain team. and you might get rejected by certain teams that you've not really offended, but you know, kind of pushed away during your actions throughout time pressured interviews. But that's certainly something to consider with the way you're going to take upon which career path you want to have in the career mode, and your character's value upon your performances. Also with the interviews, you'll have a new character trying to manage your press kind of interactions. So I think the character's name's Claire, but this can affect your team's morale and the way they perform in developing the car. So it's always important, if you want to stay with the team that you're at, to try and boost their performance with the influence you have over the media. Now apparently this comes with perks that you can unlock and may affect the price of development parts and development speed. The ERS system has now been explained. It's going to be similar to the fuel system that we have already in Formula 1, where we now have the options in ERS to use none, low, medium, high overtake, and I think hot lap on qualifying laps. Or we also have the option to select auto if it's too complex to manage throughout a race. Now this is somewhat complicated if you're going to, because I'm sure everybody that's league racing or wants to race competitively online or competitively in career mode as such wants to manage this. So you're going to be managing your fuel plus your ERS plus managing the tire internal temperature and surface temperature, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun trying to balance those acts for a whole race duration. And I'm sure it's going to have some sort of effect on reliability, which you will have to manage throughout your career mode experience. So there's another long-term element to the game I'm sure that they will add. Continuing on with career mode, they seem to have just overhauled the whole thing pretty much, as now you have undiscovered parts of research and development areas. So you don't know what the development path will take you upon. You don't know what the next upgrade's going to be, kind of like that. And this is going to be really like a step in the dark with your development path, and you don't really know what's going to be coming around the corner. So it's a little bit more of guesswork, and that way it's a bit more realistic in terms of real life development as well. They've also added some simulated rule switching throughout the seasons. It might not happen every season, but it will shuffle the order of the teams, as it will stop or halt the development of certain areas of a team, and like kind of reverse that kind of impact on a certain development path, such as like the engine or the chassis or the aerodynamics. So a team that's really good in that certain area might have all that good work undone if there's a rule change in that kind of area. I'm not sure how many rule changes can be apparent from season to season. There might be one, there might be two, I have no idea. This hasn't been confirmed yet. Also, another thing to point out is that you can talk to your engineer about this and try to put development points into a certain area to prevent the rule change from degrading that all the hard work that you've put into that area, and that way you'll keep that kind of consistency in that area, and that way you won't be negatively impacted from what I gather. The last thing to really add about single player career mode is that they're going to add more cutscenes. Obviously, apparently it's more realistic movements, more realistic looking people. They've kind of overhauled that with a new director in that department, so hopefully we'll be seeing a major improvement in that aspect as well. They've also talked about adding more support to more wheels, and now they're going to add support to some direct drive wheels that are more advanced than your typical Logitech or Thrustmaster wheels. So that'd be really interesting to see what kind of feedback you can get on those sort of wheels, and if it provides an advantage in like a league racing kind of scenario, where if you spend more money on those type of wheels, will you gain an advantage from feeling more force feedback from the track? And it would be really interesting to see how that goes with the esports kind of as well. But hopefully it doesn't gain too much of an advantage. It's kind of like the same scenario with the wheel and the pad. We don't know what's going to be the best. Yeah, I'm sure some people that playing the beta have already tested it and can get a rough idea of what it's going to be like. My guess is that if the curbs are more realistic and you have to correct the car a lot if you try to bash the curbs, the wheel will definitely be more prominent in that aspect. Like, you'll be able to correct the car more easily. That's always been the case though, but yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how they try to balance the wheel and the pad together in F1 2018. In terms of classic cars, they have announced that they're going to be adding all the classic cars from F1 2017 plus some new ones that they have not announced yet, so we've got to wait for them to announce the classic cars. I'm guessing that's just going to add to the hype, as the game will come out on the 24th of August. I think that's around the Spa Grand Prix time in the real life F1. If not, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, hopefully we can find out what those new classic cars are going to be like. I'd like to see the Brawn racing car, but be sure to let me know in the comments what you'd like to see also in the game for the classic cars. They've also made some improvements to the AI, as in they will go more defensive and preempt your actions to make a dive bomb up the inside, so they'll go to the inside to make a defensive move, and they'll also be somewhat more aggressive, I'm assuming, when they're trying to make an overtake. Heading on to multiplayer now, there isn't a whole lot known about multiplayer yet, but what has been confirmed is a super license, which is fantastic. It's going to be similar to Gran Turismo Sport in the way that they layer out their lobbies and structure the drivers being put together in like that matchmaking setting. Your super license will be determined on your driver skill and your etiquette, so I'm guessing try to avoid penalties and try to win races, and then that way you'll be based against other players of your skill level and your etiquette level. So if you're going to take out drivers every race, you're going to be put in a lobby with other drivers that will take you out as well. And if you drive like a league racer and you just want to have a clean race, hopefully we get put with other people that are just looking for a clean race as well, and that way we can avoid those annoying online lobbies where you just get taken out in the first lap on the first corner. Also, there hasn't been anything mentioned about dedicated servers, but I really do hope they bring in the dedicated servers into F1 2018. That would also help with the way that they do the matchmaking as well, most likely, but I don't know if they're going to do it. Hopefully they do, and let me know your opinion on that as well in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more new content. Thank you ever so much for watching. I try to keep this video as short as possible to break down these streams. Be sure to hit that notification bell for whenever I upload a video. That way you won't miss out on any F1 2018 game news before the game comes out. And hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in a brand new one.